Hey guys, so today I decided to draw Alhaitham from Genshin Impact. He's a new character, so I wanted to draw him. Still not he's not really in my favorite list of characters, but at the same time I still think he's pretty cool in design, so that's why I wanted to draw him. Oh boy, the amount of patterns on this guy though for his clothing and everything. It was kind of difficult and it took me a while to actually draw him as a sketch and also coloring as well. I also drew Kave, which is gonna be next. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. Kave also has a lot of detail, so yikes. um Whenever I get into these things, I'm always like, I want to draw it from more experience, from like the different patterns of clothing and stuff, because normally when I create my own characters, like the dragon shapeshifters, they don't have that level of complexity in terms of like clothing. So Genshin Impact is a good if you want to practice different outfits that have more design details on them and look more like designer like and more fantasy like, I would say definitely try drawing these types of characters. Um, I was struggling so much with this pose because, first off, I hardly draw characters with side poses in terms of their faces facing the side. Um, Normally, I draw characters facing forward, so it was kind of difficult to do this, but I really wanted to draw this pose because it's actually from a screenshot I took in the game when I was playing Alhaitham's story, so that's why I went into it. Alhaitham is a Dendro character, which I can see why people are actually pulling for him, because not just because his looks, but he is like one of the few Dendro characters that we're getting in the story so far, and Dendro is a new element, so it's kind of interesting. I use Dendro Aether, and I do have Kali and Tainari, but Tainari is my favorite in terms of Dendro characters. However, he uses a bow, so it's kind of difficult for me to play with a character that uses a bow, because normally I just use characters that use short swords or claymores. So yeah, but I haven't leveled up my Tainari to a certain level so that way he can actually play with like my main team. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to use the Dendro because they actually help a lot of different elements. My friend was telling me, oh, if you have a Dendro character and then you use it with Diluc, it's really good in terms of like it buffs his attacks and everything. So yeah, I I don't know. Alhaitham is a scholar, but apparently online a lot of people are upset because Alhaitham is more buff than Ito, and Ito is supposed to be a Oni, which is like an ogre, a Japanese ogre type character, and he's supposed to be like, when Ito came out, he was supposed to be known as like one of the first buff characters that they put in the game. I can tell why people like Ito so much, but then Alhaitham comes along and he's not even supposed to be like this technically known fighter. Like he's just like Ito is a part of a gang, and as for Alhaitham, he's supposed to be a scholar. He literally just like writes up papers all day. So people are kind of upset that he's more buff than Ito, even though he's supposed to be just like writing paperwork basically. It's kind of interesting though, but I think it's a nice like contrast from different characters that Alhaitham is a different body type. I appreciate that they actually got into a couple different body types. It's hard to find characters in the game that are look completely different. Besides like the character models, depending on their height and everything, they look a bit different based on their body build. But other than that, normally like Kaya and Diluc, we get a bunch of characters that are skinny and they're fit but not super buff. So yeah. I don't know. I appreciate Ito and sorry, not Ito, but Alhaitham and Kabe's looks. They're really pretty in the game, but I did try to pull for Alhaitham and I didn't get him, unfortunately. I got Chi-Chi C1. I'm not super upset because I do love Chi-Chi. She's super cute and she's a healer. It's just that I don't really use healers in the game. It's kind of funny because I also don't use any characters that shield my other characters. So I kind of chose the hard route of playing the game. But yeah, a lot of the times my friends are like, "Oh, you should have a healer and you should have a shielder so that way you can like manage like with all the damage that bosses give you." But to be honest, I want to say like for games, I don't like it when people are specifically saying you have to build a character a certain way because depending on your playstyle, you can definitely build a character a different way. It doesn't have to be super conventional to someone else. It's just conventional for you to use as a person. So definitely, I would say don't let people tell you how to build your character, unless you're someone who's like, okay, I don't know how to build, I just want like a standard good slash decent build, then you can definitely look up how other people do tutorials and stuff. But I haven't looked at people building because honestly, the way I play is a bit different. So, yeah. I know for the colors of Alhaitham, I did use a lot of blue and then I tried to shade it in with green. The reason why I did that is because I don't really necessarily have a turquoise looking color, which is like a greenish blue. So it's supposed to look more green and it has some hints of blue in it for like his outfit, like his jacket and everything. But I'm gonna put it out there, I don't have a touch marker that's in that color range, so I had to make do with what I had. Again, I haven't bought like new touch markers in a while, and a lot of mine are running out of ink, so eventually I'll go to the store and get some. But it's kind of difficult for me to like constantly be like having a budget to buy markers. So yeah, I do like Alhaitham's design. I remember my friend saying he reminds him of Vocaloid because of the headset that he wears. Um, sure. The different designs that they use with gold accents for all of the characters is basically something that I love and hate at the same time. Honestly, it's like there's so many gold accents on the character's costume. But wait, it's difficult to color it in, but it does look super pretty. I do appreciate all like the tiny detailed patterns that they put on the clothing, but it's not really easy to draw as an artist. Like kudos to those, like good job to those on the actual MiHoYo team who actually draw these characters and come up with the concepts and then they just roll out the characters really fast. That's the thing with gacha games, they just constantly come up with new characters like every single moment, like every month they're like, we need to get a new character in, and they work really hard. So yeah. Um just as an artist myself, I don't think like I'd be able to do that necessarily for like especially that level of detail. It's definitely more work. And to make it like a 3D model at the end too, and then just have it have like the movements and everything, which I guess some aspects are like easy because they have similar programs of how the characters move for specific actions. But overall, adding all the details to the model and having it like the clothing flow in a certain way when the character moves. So you can see I'm using more of a blue, and then I'll go over and shade some of it with a dark green. Honestly, did not have the correct colors for this, so I tried to shade it and make it like as close as possible. There's also one thing about having all these gold accents. If you have a darker color, sometimes it's just harder to like, because if you have a darker color, you can't really color over the spots or else it's noticeable. Like you can't color with black or dark gray on top of the gold. You have to like purposely avoid it. As for like other colors, if they're lighter than certain ones, like you could potentially get away with it leaking into the other one and not being as noticeable. Like if I drew something with red and then on the side I put orange, it bleeding into it wouldn't really necessarily have a total bad effect on it. Like it's harder to notice because they're similar shades. As for other colors, especially because a lot of colors in Genshin, a lot of characters in Genshin, their clothing has black on it. And like Diluc, Kaya, Alhaitham, who else? Albedo, and then they have gold next to it, so you have to be really careful and try to color in as like carefully as possible. The thing with touch markers though is that the ones that I'm using have the brush tips and they're kind of wide. They're okay for details, but it's not as easy because the tip isn't as thin as other markers. You'll notice this side of his shoulder that I'm coloring in. I didn't really care for adding too much detail to that side of the coat because it's technically supposed to be behind him, and also I was looking at references and it's really hard to get a good angle on all of the entire character. I guess I could have went into the game and looked at the model itself and turned it around, but whenever I do these types of drawings, I normally just take the route of, oh, I'm gonna take a reference from online, a couple photos of different angles, and that's basically it. I think that's just my style. I'm just like, I'm not gonna turn on my PS4 for this because I don't play on the laptop or anything or my phone, so everything that I have for Genshin is on my PS4 right now. So you'll see I'm trying to outline some of the parts with green, so it kind of has like some shading to it. This is one of those things where it's like every time I look at Genshin characters, I'm like, the clothing is so pretty. I would want to cosplay as them, but the fact is, like, Genshin characters have so much detail on them that the cosplays end up being closer to $200 each, even for like the cheaper cosplay versions. And then if you get into the range of like a little bit more mid, it comes to like $300 to $400 for Canadian pricing. So yeah, a lot of the characters where I was like, oh, I like them, I ended up not buying the cosplay for. Even though I was planning on doing so, I have to save up for them. Alhaitham has a lot of different details on his gloves. I don't know if it's like different layers or if they just have like different 3D patterns on them necessarily, because it does look like certain patterns are sticking out when you look at the model and references. So yeah, but because of that, and then the fact that his clothing is mainly supposed to be like a grayish black, it became difficult in terms of okay, certain parts I want to be able to see so that way I can outline them. So I ended up using different shades of gray and black so that way I get like a good tone of just being able to mark down what patterns are where, because sometimes if you just full on color a character, you can't see the pencil sketches, so it's harder to see the pencil sketches, so you might get confused. So yeah, I ended up using like 3 different shades of gray, and one of them was super dark, so it kind of looked more black than the others. Like, I'm pretty sure you guys noticed the first marker that I used just now was for that, and then I'm using a lighter gray to color in most of his outfit. When you like draw or look at characters to draw, honestly, sometimes you'll find things that you're like, I never noticed that on the clothing, but I feel like more so when I buy like cosplays of Genshin characters, there's some pieces where it's like, I've never seen this before. Like, I wasn't paying attention to Albedo, and when I got an Albedo cosplay and I saw a chain, and I was like, where's this from even? And then I looked online, and turns out like he has this giant chain on the back of his jacket. Like, so many cosplays, it's like, I don't even know where certain pieces go because it's not that noticeable until you like actually pay attention to the character model and stuff like that. It's really like interesting to draw them though because you pick up on little details here and there where you normally wouldn't pay attention to when playing the game. I don't know if I will actually spend money on pulling for Alhaitham though, because I did get Chi Chi, C1. So yeah, I don't know if it's worth it to spend money in Genshin. To be honest, I rarely spend money just because the whole fact that it's pretty expensive to buy currency in game, and especially if you're like in Canada, the conversion, like, my goodness, I do not like spending money. Like, it's easy to spend like over $60 to $100 when like playing, but I normally just use the primo gems that I save up and then I go and pull characters. I typically get the ones that I want. The only rare occasions is if there was a lot of reruns and a lot of 5-star characters that I really wanted, and because there was so many at once and they were coming like every month or so, like once you pull a 5-star and you don't pull a certain amount, then you're not at your point where you can actually get another 5-star. So it's all really confusing, to be honest. My friend was better at explaining this. But yeah, that's basically why I don't spend money in the game. And if I don't get the character, normally I'm like, I'm gonna wait for the rerun then. I need a Sino rerun. I know he's a newer character, but I missed out and I didn't get him. So I'm kind of annoyed by that because that was the only character during this time that I actually really wanted. Um, Besides Scaramouche, because I did get him, aka the Wanderer. So yeah. Here I am, just coloring in more of his glove. I like how this one turned out. Like, getting the size comparison and the scale for like the head when it's like on the side, facing the side, compared to other characters that I draw where you can see the face forward, that's a bit more difficult because I don't know, like, I haven't compared it to my other Genshin drawings because normally I draw them like similar scale if they're like similar types, especially for Genshin because the taller characters are technically supposed to be the same size as each other, like proportion wise, and also like the shorter characters as well. But yeah, I didn't pay attention to that. I kind of just quickly drew him. But I think it's similar to how I drew Kave, so it should be fine. I try to follow like my older drawings too of different characters, so that way they're roughly around the same sizing. And now I'm outlining everything. I really like his hair. His hairstyle is kind of difficult to draw though because I chose a side profile instead of just the front. Again, it's just I went for a pose that wasn't that easy, so yeah, this was me attempting it. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys have any requests for like any different types of characters, whether it's from a game, anime, TV show, cartoon. Let me know in the comment section below and I'll look into drawing those. It is it. Also, in the description box below, I'll leave my social media there. You can like and follow those. I'll be posting process work of Alhaitham for sure. I am kind of behind on posting drawings, period. So if you see drawings, if you see process work of drawings that were of videos that were like a while ago, it's because I'm slowly uploading them. I don't want to post like all of my drawings and then have nothing else to post. So yeah, I prefer to take my time with it. But sometimes I'm busy and then I don't have time to actually upload a photo onto the social media. Here I am just outlining. I like how this one turned out, even though the pose wasn't as good. I don't know if this is my best work for like a side profile for the face, but it's pretty good for like me starting to do that. I only did that type of pose for the faces like a couple drawings, but it's very rare, so maybe I should practice more on that. I also outlined a lot of his jacket and the different cloths on his belt area just because I wanted to be obvious that it's layers of clothes upon each other rather than just have it be like, oh, you see the different colors, therefore it's like different layers of clothing, which I normally do, but for this time I was like, I need to outline almost everything for the clothing so that way you can tell like stuff is overlapping for different pieces. And then I am outlining also his glove because technically speaking his clothing, all of it including his glove is supposed to be black color, but I use like different shades of gray as I said before, but I wanted to outline it to make sure that the different patterns were standing out. And his vision was more to the side, so you don't really get to see the dendro symbol, so that's just what it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!